Welcome to episode 196 of Timm Talk, aka Podcast X. Our mission today is review the DC animated universe co-created by Bruce Timm, specifically the Justice League Unlimited Season 2 episodes, the Doomsday Sanction, and Task Force X. To do so, I have assembled a squad of the worst. Each member of the team is chosen for his or her unique set of abilities. I am Chris Lord, aka Lordy, and in my hands, anything is a deadly weapon. My father was a soldier who trained me how to kill from the moment I was born. Next up is Cameron Dexter, aka The Animator. In his hands, anything is a deadly weapon. His father was a soldier who trained his son how to kill from the moment he was born. I am here out of blind patriotism for my country, but you, Cameron, need a little more persuasion. So to make sure you stay in line, you've been injected with a nanite explosive. It's the size of a rice grain, but it's as powerful as a hand grenade, and I'm the man holding the pin. If you go on too many tangents about anime, you die. If you try to make any one of these episodes into a two-parter, you die. If you fail to be amused by my overly long and mostly plagiarized introduction, you die. And if you want to know what happened to the rest of the squad, let's just say they couldn't find their sense of humor, and now they can't find their heads. And with that ominous threat, shall we dive head first into our mission?
And I'm Cameron Dexter. You had me for until the very end. Until the pun, I was all on board.
Well, you better get on board, Cameron, because if you don't laugh at the puns, I'm gonna blow your goddamn head off.
You know what? That's fine, because I don't have to hear him anymore.
You'll be mercifully spared.
Yes.
This is why it's called the Suicide Squad. Everyone wants just to get away from my goddamn puns.
Yeah. And that was beautiful. That was very good. I'll take on the role as the animator.
Thank you. Yeah, it seemed like the right name for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think of like what a power about the animator would actually be.
Well, let's say this can be set in the James Gunn Suicide Squad. So it can be really fucking weird and trippy.
Okay, well, we have like Tattoo Man, who has all the tattoos that he can kind of give sentience to.
Right.
Who we saw in the Elektra movie, I believe. And he's popped up in a couple other places.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I pitched you the idea of the improviser as a supervillain.
Oh, that would have been
superhero.
good. Yeah, that would have been good.
Who just like holds up their hands like of what a basketball would be, and a basketball can appear in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
They can just summon anything if they know the exact size of it. Something similar to that.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be a good superhero power.
Probably not for the Suicide Squad.
Well, that's the whole point, is you're just there to die anyways.
Yeah.
You make great cannon fodder.
Yes.
We both would.
I could make cannon fodder.
Oh, the dad joke tables have turned.
Yes. Is that a dad joke? Whatever.
I don't know. What is a dad joke even at this point?
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't know. I'm not a dad.
No.
Mercifully. But yeah, in case you couldn't tell, everyone, we're here this week to talk about the DCAU's version of the Suicide Squad and Task Force X. But first up, we have the Doomsday Sanction. Shall we dive in and see what's going on there?
Well, let's jump on into it.
All right. So in this, the full scope of Cadmus is revealed, as is the truth that Cadmus created the creature Doomsday that nearly destroyed Metropolis before the fascistic Superman of the Justice Lord reality lobotomized him. Cadmus has recovered and healed Doomsday, who is released by an embittered Dr. Milo and set loose on a rampaging mission to kill Superman, while he and the League attempt to rescue the island of San Baquero from an impending volcanic eruption. But ultimately, this whole episode is essentially a massive pissing contest between Batman and Amanda Waller, and I love it.
Yes. We are in it now.
Oh, yeah.
We are in the best arc of a superhero series ever. And it just goes.
Above anything even in Young Justice? Above anything in Titans?
I think so.
Yeah?
I mean, I love the Terra arc. It's a very slow burn, and it burned me and scarred me.
So hard. Burned you so hard.
Yeah. But I think I believe the Cadmus arc is kind of the penultimate. No, that means second, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like
the
final.
ultimate.
The ultimate, yeah.
arc that any superhero series. I can't say animated series because, like, obviously there's still Avatar.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. No, I mean, I think that's a fair argument. This whole thing is so interesting because it really does offer a different look at the League. They come off not looking great in some ways at the end of this episode.
Oh, the final shot of them sitting in the throne room was so off-putting.
Yeah,
I hated that.
Really, really ominous. So we'll get into that. But like,
how did Batman approve of that? Because I could imagine him having one chair for him, but not 6 chairs.
He sometimes likes to pretend like they're all equals.
Right.
Sometimes just to throw him a bone a little bit here. But like this episode has a really interesting opening because one, we see like the announcement that Lex Luthor is now officially running for president, which was teased at the end of, I think, the Justice Lord's episodes. Maybe.
Yes.
Or no, maybe
it was not Tabula Rasa. Was it
The Return?
Yeah.
It might have been The Return, yeah. So like now he's like fully in it, like fully running for president, and we see that because we're getting a quick little tour of Amanda Waller's house. She's getting ready to go in the morning, and then she like goes to get out of the shower, and Batman's standing there holding the towel, like, "Get dressed, we need to talk."
I have 2 questions.
Yes, please.
In the quick snippet we see of Lex on the TV and kind of hearing background noise, we hear he's going strong against his 2 competitors.
Mm-hmm.
Is Lex running independent?
Oh,
I mean, it's a very 2005 thing.
He might be.
That's bizarre.
Lex
I don't
Luthor.
know why that's so weird, but that is the weirdest part of this intro. Is Lex running independent?
He's the Ralph Nader
Yeah.
of the DC animated universe. I could see him doing that.
Yeah, well, because especially like nowadays in the post-Trump era, Lex is seen as like a strong Republican.
Yeah, like that's the element of this that just doesn't really work anymore. It's reality has become stranger than fiction.
Yes.
Yes. We have lived through a reality worse than Lex Luthor being president, because at least Lex Luthor, evil though he is competent.
Well, have you seen the joke about the reason Amazon is putting out so many like anti-superhero stories with Invincible and The Boys is because Jeff Bezos is tired of being paralleled to Lex Luthor. But it just like strengthens the parallel of him like creating fear-mongering towards heroes.
Yeah, it only really
as the
does.
bald billionaire that he is.
Yeah, I mean, he is the closest we have to a real-life Ernst Stavro Blofeld, both in terms of like Machiavellian nature and aesthetic.
Yeah.
So the man should never buy a white Persian cat. That'll just fully seal the deal. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that he's like, Lex is now like fully in it, and this will set up the idea that'll come down a little ways that like, oh, is the Justice Lord's reality alternate reality, or is it just the future?
Yeah, is it an inevitability?
Yeah, which isn't brought up here, but it's sort of hinted at because Waller's whole point, it's like, you know, she even says you have like a massive space laser pointed down, and in another universe, 7 of you overthrew the entire U.S. government. Like, we're the good guys, you're the threat. We're gonna do whatever we need to do to stop you. And Batman doesn't have a response. He literally just like turns around and walks away at that point. Probably because I think he thinks she's right.
And yeah, we see that concern kind of come true in the end.
Yeah.
Like Batman at the end of this episode does see her perspective. Like he does kind of fear their power.
I mean, she's not entirely wrong. He's not entirely wrong. I do have one little note though about how, you know, they're constantly trying to get under each other's skin, Waller and Batman. And I feel like Batman was so like shocked and put off, and his ego was so bruised by like the rich boy comment from Waller the last time he saw her, that the only way he could think of like getting under her skin is to like show up in her bathroom when she's in the shower, which is a little bit creepy.
It's a little too far for Batman.
Yeah. I was like, you're having to go in like very uncomfortable territory to get under her skin in the way that she got under yours. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
I would say compared to what Batman, his surroundings are normally like, this is as off-putting as it is for her. As I mean, obviously it's very off-putting for her because she's nude in her own shower.
Yeah.
But this is a confined, brightly lit space, which is very against Batman.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So he's having to like leave his bubble to enter her world for this confrontation.
Oh, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Their dynamic is so interesting.
Yes.
And one of my favorite parts of all of this, and of course it has a nice little kind of bow at the end when we'll get there eventually. But so we kind of now know the full scope of Cadmus, and it's revealed in a really awesome sequence where Batman at the founders table, which very interestingly now does include Shaira. He's kind of walking through what Cadmus is, how it was set up, what their aims are, and like partway through that like rotation around the table, and then cuts over to the Cadmus table and runs full circle there, and we get to see everyone sitting at that table. It's really interesting people too that are included as part of the team. So I think I have some of them written down here. So we have obviously Amanda Waller, Emil Hamilton, which we already knew at this point was part of Cadmus and has betrayed Superman by making Galatea, who he says is almost fully recovered from her recent battle with Supergirl. We have Tala, who I don't really know anything about. Do you?
I do not. This is her first appearance.
Yeah, it's her first appearance. I mean, we know she's magical, and she makes a comment about how they're getting ready to try and steal something, which we'll come back to in our next episode, Task Force X. But yeah, I don't really know much about her, and she's like the only new person really there.
Yes. Yeah, we have one coming in and basically one going out.
Exactly, yeah. So because we also see General Wade Eiling, who when did he last appear?
Darkheart.
Darkheart, that's right, yeah, with voiced by the great
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, yes. He's there. Dr. Milo is there, who we know used to do like the animal splicing stuff. I think he was in
your favorite.
Oh, Cat Scratch Shooter. Oh, and fucking Moon of the Wolf.
Moon of the Wolf, baby. He created a werewolf.
God damn it. Oh, I'm really glad he gets killed in this episode now that I remember that.
There's a line that he gives, which I think is interesting. And basically, he stole Man-Bat's research to help with his splicing.
Yeah, he specifically mentions that, yeah, Kirk Langstrom's research has been really helpful. And yeah, it's the way it's phrased, it doesn't indicate whether Langstrom's working with them or he's stolen something from them. I feel like he probably stole it from Langstrom, who generally... I mean,
we'll use the more American world. He seized it.
That's true. He seized that research. Because, I mean, I think anytime we saw Langstrom, like, he was more or less like a pretty solid dude. He just had a bad habit of turning into a bat and flying around Gotham.
A werebat.
A werebat. And then we also get the reappearance of Hugo Strange.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
We haven't seen since his episode in BTOS.
Yeah, and I don't think we see him again. I think I read a note that this is like the last episode before the Bat embargo. Yep, just a cameo here. Like he, I guess, was set up to have a larger role down the line, but the Bat embargo like went fully into effect basically right after this, and like all of the Batman villains stopped appearing anywhere.
Great.
Which is such a shame. You know, it really sucks when you have to, like, you know, take off the board your best collection of rogues, which is the Batman group, because the rest of them are kind of...
Well, I think it gives you a chance to not use them as a pillar, like use them to hold yourself up.
That's true, yeah, like a crutch.
Yes, that's the better word.
Yes.
I was trying to watch this episode from the lens of 2005.
Okay.
Because nowadays it's almost laughable to say like Americans are the good guys in any scenario. But this is a like fresh 9/11 world where like this is in the middle of the war on fear and the war on terror.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of parallels between Cadmus and Waller and the American government.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny now, thinking about that, but you know, at the time, these were real conversations. These were real like scenarios.
Yeah. Wait, did Eiling actually drop the Patriot Act when he was that? Am I just making that up? When he basically tells Milo like, here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna take all your research and like just like push you off in some little corner, ignore you. Does he actually name drop the Patriot Act? Or
I don't think he specifically says Patriot Act, but
okay.
That's basically what they do.
Yeah, he's basically saying like, we can just do whatever we want, so we're going.
Yeah, you're going to be a pencil pusher now, and we're just going to take your stuff.
Yeah, which Milo
seize it.
Yeah, and he's like, Milo's not thrilled about that, and then so he decides he's going to go release Doomsday. We get the full backstory on Doomsday, which I guess in this context is probably a retcon, although maybe they had this idea to some degree in mind with Justice Lords. I would suspect not. But that Doomsday, in fact, didn't just come from space randomly like we saw in that episode. He was created from a sample of Superman's DNA, which we've seen they've been trying to do cloning with him for a while with Bizarro and Galatea tangentially. So like they created him from Superman, and then they basically like did a full Clockwork Orange, like force your eyes open and program you to hate Superman thing, until they realized that he was no longer controllable. So they tried to shoot him into space to get rid of him, and that failed, and he came back down to Earth. And then that's when he encountered the Justice Lords League and got lobotomized. So it's a slightly different origin on Doomsday, who, if I recall from the comics, really just is like a creature from space that happens to land there.
Well, it's a similar origin. It's just instead of him being an alien, he's just created on Earth.
Yeah. And I guess because he's specifically made from Superman.
Yeah, that is different. But his original creation, if I remember correctly, is he was just created as like a doomsday monster. Like he's meant to go and win wars.
Right, yeah.
And anything that kills him, he is revived without that weakness again.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's really fucking cool, actually.
It's very cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Doomsday is super cool, and it's still always a little bit weird when he speaks.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit off-putting. That being said, though, like, he can be done really well, and they've done him really well here. And just every time I see Doomsday done well, either in this or in either of the Death of Superman animated adaptations, I'm like, man, they really fucking dropped the ball on Batman versus Superman. It's like, and, and I'll even give them like his origin coming from like the body of Zod, like Kryptonian thing. Like, there's enough tie in there. It works. They do that here, but just like he has such a cool aesthetic, and they just completely abandoned it to make him this like weird, gross, generic looking blobby thing.
Yeah.
They even took away his mullet.
How dare they?
What does Zack Snyder have against mullets?
We want the mullet cut.
Yeah.
Still. Forever.
Still.
Tired of the Snyder cut people. Where's the mullet cut people?
He
Bring them
seems
back.
like the kind of guy that would put people with mullets in his movies, in fact. You know, it's just like, it's a style that's just not really in anyone's taste, but it's his, so he's going to do it anyways. It's very much a mullet.
I don't know. I feel like he's so focused on like everyone in this movie has to be at peak attractiveness at all times.
Well, if that's the case, then why make Doomsday so fucking ugly?
Because he's not a real person. If you can't make them hot, then make them the most gross.
You know what? You're not entirely wrong. That does probably fit. Not to shit on Zack Snyder. That probably fits in his ethos a little bit. If you're not like godlike hot, what's the point?
There was a video that popped up this morning before coming over here that was talking about, maybe you saw it this week, how in the current MCU standards, superheroes are hot but not sexy.
I didn't see this. What?
It was a really interesting analysis of how they like they're not immature. That's not the right word. But every good character in the MCU isn't allowed to be sexual.
Oh, okay.
That is fully reserved for the villains. Thor is hot, but Loki is sexy. Hela is sexy. The ones that are kind of ambiguous are the ones that can kind of be in both worlds. Valkyrie gets those like sexual moments.
Okay.
While Thor is not allowed to really have that.
I might have to watch it just to understand how they're differentiating hot and sexy, because I'm not quite getting it. But like as in, by them being defined as sexy, they are allowed to be like sexual in some capacity.
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, because there's a constant criticism about the MCU that it's very non-sexual.
Yeah,
like I think there's only been, to my recollection, like one sex scene, and that's basically just the very beginning of Iron Man 1 when he sleeps with Christine Everhart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after that, I think pretty much nothing ever happens.
Right.
Again.
But then you have like that shot of Valkyrie when she's in Jeff Goldblum's ship shooting the laser.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's very much like a phallic representation.
Okay. I'll have to watch the video, because all I know is just like everyone in the MCU is super hot.
Yes, they're good at that part.
Yeah,
nailed it.
Exactly. Hello, Shang-Chi. Also, hello, Captain Marvel with her like short haircut from Endgame. Bisexual icon right there. Here for all of it. How did this come from Doomsday?
Because Doomsday is the sex figure.
Oh, right.
Because Superman's hot, but Doomsday is sexy.
Doomsday is sexy. Yeah, and he kills Milo as he should. He's like, you made Moon of the Wolf. You're gonna crush your
did what all of us wanted to do 4 years ago.
Just crush your school. And then he's off to go kill Len Wein, but first he's gonna find Superman. But yeah, so the League is trying to evacuate this island. There's a volcano about ready to erupt. I liked this sequence a lot because it gave us a chance to see the League acting heroic in a way that's not explicitly tied into fighting supervillains. Like, and that's kind of universally true across almost all of the DCU. Like, even thinking back to Superman, I don't remember a lot of times where we had an extended sequence of Superman just doing heroic feats to save people. I feel like it's pretty much always been him against some sort of villain. It makes sense. They're all short episodes. There's only so much room to like pad out.
Yeah, they always have to punch something.
Exactly. Yeah, he's I guess punching the ground to like make channels for the volcano to flow. But it was fun to see them having to evacuate the island. Superman trying to redirect the flow of lava. The team coordinating together to try and do something that's not explicitly just punching someone, which we don't get to see very often. And I almost wonder if that was a deliberate inclusion here, almost like to show within the course of the episode the two very extremes of the League, which is in this moment they're acting altruistically heroic to try and save people, and at the very end we see them like the most godlike and judging and judgmental they've ever been.
Yeah, that's a great comparison.
Yeah, because it's a big swing here. Like, no one's throwing punches until Doomsday shows up, and then he kind of started the fight. So it puts them in a way of making it seem them like they're a little more on the heroic side. But what I also found was interesting is that only goes so far, because once that fight starts going between Superman and Doomsday, Superman ends up trying to lobotomize him.
Yeah, he crosses the line.
Yeah, he pulls the card that felt crazy when Justice Lord Superman did it, because we didn't think ours would ever do it. And I guess this version is aware of that event that happened already, that's what Justice Lord Superman had to do, and so he decides, I guess, he has no choice. But it's not a moment that's super highlighted in all this episode, but we as an audience are like, oh fuck, like, this is the start of a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because this whole episode is actually very intense, but especially that moment really jumped out to me. To your point, it does also allude to the fact, because Doomsday says, like, that won't kill me again. Not explicitly stating that's his power set as he adapts to things that previously killed him. But it's maybe a nod to that idea of, like, you tried this once before, it's not going to work again.
Right, and Doomsday is actively going for the eyes with every punch. Like, he's trying to blind Superman with every... And I don't remember, I'm sure the original model had it, but those like knuckle spikes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's usually part of his design. I'm pretty sure it would have been part of his design, the old one.
Yeah. Well, now he's just making use of them.
Yeah, now he's really
there's no open hand in this fight. It is full closed fist.
Yeah, really making use of it. So, but shit's going crazy. They realize that Doomsday is there, and I love this. So then Batman tries to get Waller to like call off. Oh wait, no, what is it? Oh no. Sorry, I have my order of events slightly off. She realizes that Doomsday has escaped and is on this island, and so she tells Eiling, like, go clean up your mess. And she should probably be more specific, because she isn't, and so Eiling decides to shoot a kryptonite-tipped nuclear missile at the island. And once they discover that's happening, I love this moment where Batman calls her on the president's exclusive line. Because she even answers, hello, Mr. President, and it's Batman. And she's just pissed that he got the number. Again, the pissing contest between the two of them is absolutely nonstop. They're so petty, and I fucking love it.
Yes.
But then we get Batman doing his recreation of the Star-Crossed finale once again. I'm Batman, I must go do it myself. Because they realize that, okay, somehow...
I did the math on this.
Okay, yeah, somehow Captain Atom wouldn't be able to get there in time. So walk us through how this is supposed to make sense.
So Captain Atom is on the west coast, I think they say. I think they say he's like in San Francisco or something around there.
Okay.
We don't really know where San Vicento?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we don't know where the island is.
Yeah.
But Batman complains that his top speed is only Mach 2.
Yeah.
Which is 1,535 miles an hour. Which is fucking fast.
Yeah.
But then I Googled what is the fastest missile we have. And I could only find information for current day. I couldn't
Sure.
find anything for 2005. But we can assume the technology of 2005 is slightly ahead of our 2005.
Yeah, I think we could assume that, yeah, the technology of 2005 era DCAU is probably comparable to ours. It's, 5 minutes in the future sort of thing.
Yeah. So the current fastest missile is Mach 5.
Oh, okay.
It's 3,800 miles an hour.
Okay.
After hearing that, I'm a little more lenient to Batman's math.
So, okay. So I can believe that the missile would be faster than Captain Atom. Sure. Now, here's the thing. They have Zeta Tube technology.
That was my big thing. Yes.
Which, up to this point, we haven't yet seen that they can do point-to-point teleportation. They've only basically teleported people to and from the pad on the Watchtower.
No, the first episode, they pull up Green Arrow from the convenience store.
Right, but he lands on the pad.
Yeah, we only know they can go up.
Right. So, exactly. So we have not yet seen the ability to, take someone from one place and teleport them up and then instantly back down somewhere else. We will see that coming up soon. So that, I guess they will just ignore that it didn't have that capability over here. But what I have a hard time believing is that it's still faster for Batman to somehow drop a plane out of the Watchtower, enter Earth's atmosphere, and get there first. I mean, I guess if it was perfectly aligned right above the island, which I guess they would, if they probably have some control of their orbit, they might do that. They might navigate the Watchtower towards a crisis potentially. So maybe I can kind of buy it. The math and physics seems a little bit far-fetched.
Yeah, because him just running from the Watchtower to the hangar feels like the time it would take for a 3,800 mile an hour missile to just hit its target. Because he's fast, sure. We'll say his top speed is maybe 25 miles an hour.
Yeah. So, it's a little bit incredulous, but I have to say that whole sequence is really good.
It's really good.
Him realizing there's no time, running through the Watchtower, basically yelling clear the hangar, which if you are anyone else in the league and you just do whatever Batman says, no one's going to argue with him. Oh shit, I'm getting out of the way. I'm so sorry, Batman.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Yes. He gets into one of the javelins and plummets down, hits Earth's atmosphere, deliberately going fast, potentially endangering, burning up just so he can catch the momentum, whatever, to get down there. And then the whole sequence of him essentially not being able to shoot down the missile, having to magnetically connect to the top, over the top of it. And there's that moment when Batman's on the comms with Jean and says oh, it's magnetically shielded against missiles. He's oh, well, you could polarize the whole whatever. And there's this kind of exchange where Jean knows that what he's telling Batman to do will probably kill him, and Batman, recognizing that is also true and not even hesitating for a moment, just okay, got it, and go to do it. It's damn it, they keep writing these moments that should be ridiculous of making Batman the coolest, most absurd person in this entire universe, and it fucking works every single time.
Every time.
It gets me every single time.
So we get the what's the name of it? The something gun?
Chekhov's gun.
The Chekhov's gun moment where Waller name drops the laser in the Watchtower.
Oh.
Do you think they should have at least thought about using the laser to stop the missile? What if one of the other leaguers mentioned that and then Batman's no, we can't do that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess they did name drop it. And that's a good point. And they could have justified it, people we can't run the risk of losing power to the tower, the Watchtower. Because we did see that. It takes the entire energy of the Watchtower to fire at once.
And and they're out for an hour.
Yeah, they're blacked out for an hour, which in the middle of a crisis is not a good idea. You're right. They probably should have had a moment of being no, we can't do that. We'll lose. We can't lose the tower right now, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just a missile. They might be able to do a half power shot.
Yeah.
Again, shooting a nuke. My biggest problem with this is gunning down a nuclear bomb.
Well, and the thing is, even when Batman is able to grab it and fly it off, he still basically just gets it far enough away from the island that's not going to detonate on the island, but it still detonates.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nuts. And that's like one of those weird things, like in a superhero universe. So for some reason, like that's not a big deal. Like again, for those of you who don't remember, a nuclear bomb goes off in the middle of Batman versus Superman. You just don't remember because so much other shit happens in that movie.
That's right.
Right? Yeah, because they pull it directly from The Dark Knight Returns. And I will give The Dark Knight Returns the comic credit, is when that happens, it plummets like the entire Western Hemisphere into like a post-nuclear fallout winter. So like it's not irradiated necessarily, but like the sky is darkened by the debris, I guess, or whatever. And so like at least they do acknowledge that there is actual real world consequences that going off, and there's also like some of the political ramifications too as part of that story. But here no one just even acknowledges that a nuclear bomb just went off, like probably only a handful of miles away from that island. I mean, they evacuated everyone, but the island gets destroyed not only by a tidal wave, but would probably also be irradiated, given its proximity, as would probably Batman. But I guess he's inside the Javelin, which is shielded.
It's so fast. So 3,800 miles an hour. If we'll say it takes it 2 minutes from when Batman ejects to when it goes off.
Yeah.
He kind of pulls up a little bit. My thought is like have Captain Atom on the comms and just like point the javelin in whatever direction he's coming in, and just have Captain Atom like catch it as he just keeps running one direction.
Yeah.
Like just time it for that perfect catch. But that's a little too far beyond like superhero logic.
But I guess you're right. I guess we could presume that after that bomb goes off, Captain Atom does show up to the scene and absorb all the radiation from it.
Yeah. I mean, that's always an option.
So like, okay, so maybe it's not quite as
where's my calculator?
Not quite as incredulous as I thought it was.
I don't know the radius of a nuclear bomb. Maybe this is like a full size nuclear bomb. Mm-hmm. But if it takes it's not 2 minutes, but we're gonna estimate 2 minutes from when it misses the island before it detonates.
Yeah,
that's 126 miles away.
Okay,
so that like it's plausible,
but at that point, it's not going that speed because the Javelin has picked it up, and we presume the Javelin probably can't do Mach 5.
Well, we know it got down there because we know like it broke up at that speed. Like it blew up because the Javelin couldn't hold that speed for that long.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll say it cleared about 80 to 100 miles.
We're trying very hard to make this comic book world make sense.
Look, anytime I get numbers, it automatically makes it more real.
I know. Maybe we should have called you the calculator.
Hey, I'll take it.
Instead of the animator. But yeah, so ultimately the only way Superman is able to stop Doomsday is he punches him into the volcano and basically encases him in a lava flow. And so at that point, like the crisis is essentially resolved. Like they've evacuated the island, they've stopped the bomb from killing Superman. So now they're up at the Watchtower and they have Doomsday encased in, the hardened lava rock. And they're basically trying to figure out what to do with him. And he says like he's never going to stop trying to kill him. So Superman basically decides that he has no choice but to send him to the Phantom Zone, which I think if I recall, this is essentially the first time that is used as a form of punishment. I know that Jax, Ur, and Mala ended up back in the Phantom Zone. I can't remember if Superman was one that sent them there or not.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Okay.
I think we've seen this device once before.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've seen it since then. But yeah, like we talked about at the top of the episode, like the art design of this sequence is very, very deliberate. Because like, how would you describe the throne room they're in? I mean, it's very ominous.
It's very dark. There's because every time we see the Justice League rooms, they're always bright pops of color everywhere. Like their table is bright yellow. Their Knights of the Round Table moment. And
they usually we're in a room that has windows out to space. So there's some like quote unquote natural light coming through.
Yeah. But this is a like medieval throne room.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me a little bit of like the Guardians of the Green Lantern Corps a little bit, like this elevated platform, high backed walls kind of encircling it. The difference there is at least that is like very bright and green and colorful. This is all just like drab gray. Yeah. You feel like there's like one kind of like single spotlight up in the very top that's just vaguely illuminating everything below it.
Yeah, and they're also little green people.
So there's okay, yeah. So maybe some of the threats.
I feel like there's much less. They're all powerful and all knowing, but there's definitely much less of a threat when it's just like an old small green guy in a red robe, sitting in a throne that's 20 feet high.
Okay, fair. Maybe it doesn't have quite the same impact.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting is that room seemingly has the Phantom Zone projector stored in it for this exact purpose. Again, we'll give them a little bit of creative license for the sake of simplicity in a cartoon, but it's implied at least that that's kind of what this room is designed for.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, like a judgment chamber. And there's only 6 seats, so this would have been like, I guess, built pre-Shaira's return, and I guess we can kind of assume they would just add a chair for her up at the...
Just imagine just like wheeling in a chair on the side.
It's just like a very squeaky chair they wheel in. It's lower than everyone else.
Yeah. It's like this Wildcat dragging it in, bumbling the whole time.
It's more like a stenographer seat that they've just, well, here you go. But yeah, there's only 6 seats, but one of them's empty because Bruce is recovering from his injuries. So he's not there when they decide to send Doomsday into the Phantom Zone. But he knows what they've done, because then Superman and Wonder Woman show up in Recovery Bay, and it's Bruce out of costume. He's got like the neck brace and everything, and watching TV, and this is where we really see that he gets where Waller is coming from. He's like, you sent him to the Phantom Zone, didn't you? It's like, all right, now we're just gods passing judgment over everyone else. And Superman kind of tries to diffuse the situation. Is like, hey, like, if you ever get out of line, you always got that kryptonite ring you keep around, and Bruce is not having it. He's like, you don't get to joke about this. And again, an overall like really intense episode, just in terms of what's at stake and the beats and the moments. Like from an emotional perspective, like this is one of the most intense moments I think we've had in the entire universe. Of like Bruce, who is not the joking kind, is really not fucking around now at this point. Like, this is, I'd say, the most serious we've ever seen him. And that is saying something.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great episode. Like, if you wanted to jot in a movie right here, you lead this episode into Justice League War.
Yeah.
Or Doom, sorry, Justice League Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, this is when Batman has the plans for if any League member goes bad.
Oh, yeah. That actually would make a lot of sense, because he's not going to go join Cadmus. Although I was reading up on trivia that I guess that was an idea they had in the writer's room on this, of Batman leaves the League to go join Cadmus, and then like either eventually like separates from them too and forms his own league of non-superpowered people, so like Wildcat and Huntress and everyone else.
Batman Incorporated.
Essentially, it would have been like a precursor.
He just gets a bunch of children.
Yeah, exactly. Just a bunch of orphans. It's like it would have been a precursor to Batman Incorporated. But the note I read was that the writers couldn't find a way to have him do that and not come off as a villain. So they ultimately kept him with the League. But I think your point makes the most amount of sense. It's like Batman's not going to go join Cadmus, but he also doesn't trust the League. So what's he do? What does Batman always do?
Makes a plan.
Does it himself. Makes a plan. He does it himself. It's like, all right, if no one else can take this seriously, I'm going to go do this. And yeah, actually, I mean, that could have been a Justice League Unlimited season 3. Actually, that whole idea of you could have taken like that Doom storyline and like made a multi-episode arc about it in that season.
That would have been incredible.
That would have been really, really cool, actually. Yeah,
because you set up the first few episodes where like they do the teams, you have kind of one leader, they get separated, and then they lose.
Yeah,
and it takes Batman 2 or 3 episodes to realize like, oh shit, these are my plans. Mm-hmm. And then you have this distrust between him and the League. Like, that'd be incredible to make that a whole series.
Yeah. Also, I just realized that we did just technically try and stretch this out into a multi-parter. I'm not going to blow up your head, though.
Because it was your idea.
I suggested it first.
Yes.
So
I am, just as you implanted the bomb, I incepted the idea.
You incepted the idea.
But it did not come out of my mouth.
Wait, does that mean I have to blow up my own head?
No, the rule's only for me.
Okay, fine. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to be a hypocrite. Thank God.
Did you give yourself a bomb as well?
Of course.
Okay.
It's the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, equal opportunity evil.
Yes. But I love this episode.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best.
We're in it.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, it's amazing. It's super intense, super fun. A lot happens, but it never feels like overly packed or rushed. It's great.
It's so good.
Any other thoughts on this, or should we mosey on to some Task Force X?
Let me double check my notes if my phone will log me in. I think that's pretty much everything.
All right, so on our way then to Task Force X, which is never referred to as the Suicide Squad in this cartoon because it is, at the end of the day, still a children's cartoon. But in this, we have Colonel Rick Flag recruiting a team of supervillains to break into the Watchtower and steal a valuable piece of equipment. Really, what could possibly go wrong? Not much, actually, if you think about it. They mostly get away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love this episode.
I think this might be my favorite episode so far.
It's
incredible.
It is. I mean, as I'm watching, I'm like, this is basically just Mission Impossible done in this universe, and they do such a good job of it. Even the music, to me, feels like they're going for a very specific tone that felt kind of like 60s spy capery, which, oh my God, if you're trying to get me on board with something, give me an allusion to 60s spy capers.
I was going to say, it was a very nice blend of like Mission Impossible and Ocean's 11.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, right. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious what the setup here is. Like, this is the one time we see Task Force X, aka better known as the Suicide Squad, in the DCAU. And the team this time is Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot, who's pretty much a staple. He's always in there. We also get Captain Boomerang.
75 cents is 75 cents. You want me to throw away money?
That's actually pretty good. That's a pretty good impression.
Well, it's a bad accent to begin with.
It is a bad. It's a bad.
I can do a
accent.
bad Australian.
Yeah. It's also fun too because Michael Rosenbaum is once again voicing Deadshot, whose last appearance would have been the Enemy Below, like way back in the very beginning of Justice League. So it's fun to see him come back around again. We then have Plastique, who maybe I only just remember her from this, but I feel like I've maybe read a comic with her somewhere. But she's an explosive person.
Yes.
Yeah, explosive person
with an explosive personality.
Ooh, there we go. We get the return of the Clock King, aka Temple Fugit.
He's incredible. I don't understand why he's not in the Suicide Squad more. He's so cool.
Yeah.
As the behind the scenes guy.
Yeah.
As their Oracle.
The guy in the chair.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yes, I love him so much.
Because, I mean, who better to have, like, in your earpiece, like, you have 33 seconds left.
Yeah. He's so annoying.
Yes. And you love him for it, though.
Exactly.
He's so perfect for that. Well, that's it. And then Colonel Rick Flag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's
small team.
Well, small team. 4 of them actually go up to the tower. Clock King stays behind to be the man on comms. Also, return of Adam Baldwin as Rick Flag.
Great.
Making all those cameo appearances. Yes, basically they go and they like knock out a team of 4 people that are getting teleported up who work on the Watchtower. They go up in their place, and the plan is basically twofold. One is Deadshot and Plastique are going to go and basically put a bunch of bombs on the nuclear reactor at the heart of the Watchtower.
A lot of nuclear talk in these 2 episodes.
A lot of nuclear talk. Well, 2005.
Very progressive.
Very 2005. They're going to go set off a bomb down there, which I can imagine would only just destroy the whole fucking thing. The fact that it doesn't is insane. And then while they're doing that, Boomerang and Flag are going to go and steal something from the, basically like the vault built in the Watchtower, which stores a bunch of things they've reclaimed over the course of their adventures. And there's a lot of fun little Easter eggs in there. It almost kind of reminded me of like the Room of Requirement in Harry Potter when it's just filled with shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in there, or even in Batman and Robin, there's like that brief shot of the locker at Arkham Asylum that's storing Mr. Freeze's suit, but you get like the Riddler's costume over there, and you get like Two-Face's costume.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
That's great. Because I was comparing it to in Young Justice, Kid Flash always takes a souvenir for every mission they're on.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's also kind of like that too. So looks like some of the stuff they have in there is they have a Gorilla City hover bike from when Grodd was doing his thing.
Still, it had to be Flash stole that for sure.
Oh, 100% he did. Actually, I think a lot of these are stolen by Flash.
Yeah.
It's that. It's Weather Wizard's wand. We get X's battle suit, like the purple and green battle suit that he always wore in the early seasons of Justice League. Pieces of Toyman's giant robot from Hereafter when he quote-unquote kills Superman. A bunch of like Thanagarian weapons, and then I guess a piece of a giant robot that Luthor built too. But it's like it's fun little nods, fun little Easter eggs all throughout there. But they are there to steal the Annihilator.
Yes.
Which we last saw in Hawk and Dove. So I guess it's a good thing we included Hawk and Dove in our Hawk and Dove is definitely one of the lesser episodes of that season, and I guess it comes back around full circle here with this thing. I feel like the Annihilator is kind of not that interesting of a thing for them to steal, but from a plot perspective, it also gives them this like giant walking robot to go and fight a bunch of Leaguers that's trying to get out of there.
Yeah, it puts them on the same level for sure.
It is interesting that they had a very stealthy plan to get in and a not at all stealthy plan to get out, which was just like beat their way through the League to get to the teleporter and teleport out of there.
Yeah, because I was definitely thinking that halfway through, because I forgot they were stealing the Annihilator. I thought they were going to steal the Phantom Zone zapper.
Oh, that would have been...
What is it called?
The Phantom Zone projector?
Projector.
Yeah. Not the zapper.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, it does look like a late 90s overhead projector.
It actually looks a lot like that. Yeah. Wait a minute. You're old enough to remember like overhead projector slides?
Oh, of course.
Oh, okay. I just always assume you're a child.
I went to that's very rude to say I went to a poor middle school. I went to a middle school that lost a lot of money.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. Yeah. Oh, overhead projectors. But yeah, it does kind of look like that. So now they have the thing. They got to like smash the way out of there.
And boy, do they.
Do they. Like there's a pretty fun sequence where it's, what is it? So it's the whole Task Force X on the station with the Annihilator, and they go up against Atom Smasher, Shining Knight, and Vigilante.
I felt so bad for them.
For the League members?
Yeah. They didn't stand a chance.
I mean, they do a pretty good job. Like, they go toe-to-toe with them for quite a while. It's an extended fight. Like, hey, Vigilante's able to destroy Deadshot's ceramic gun pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I had to think about that.
Okay.
Because I forgot it's a laser gun because it's a kid's show.
It's a kid's show, yeah.
Because my thought is it's a ceramic gun. I feel like ceramic is not known specifically for its like sturdiness as a material.
That's a real thing, though.
Is it?
Ceramic guns, yeah. I think so.
I can understand like a plastic gun because that can at least like absorb some of the impact that goes off when shooting a bullet. But ceramics, I imagine, just crack with every shot.
Let me see. Let me see. Ceramic gun, yeah. Do ceramic guns exist? It's a porcelain gun made in Germany. According to research, the problem isn't that the porcelain gun is expensive, is that it's imaginary. Well, yeah, there is no such thing as an entirely ceramic handgun.
They're so fragile. Ceramics are like infamously fragile.
I guess it's featured in like GTA Online. I guess it's not a real thing, but again, this universe 5 minutes in the future.
But they have ceramics aren't a future invention.
They have perfected laser guns.
Again, when I thought the laser, I'm more on board, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to bother trying to look too hard to see if it's a real thing just because I don't want my personal FBI agent to know that I'm looking up ceramic firearms. But I mean, yeah, I think we can, that's their way of being like, it got through the metal detector, which would never actually go through metal detector at any point. So I don't know.
Maybe it's like, as they're being teleported through, there's a space metal detector.
It is kind of funny because they sneak a bunch of stuff on board. It's actually very clever how they do it. So Deadshot hides the pieces of his ceramic gun inside like the little candy wrappers, and it's the same candy wrappers, Lightspeed energy bars, the one that the Flash was hawking in that episode.
That's hilarious. I missed that note.
And then like Plastique has basically taped a bunch of like plastic explosive to her abdomen, and then put like fake skin over the top of it, which she peels away. And then Captain Boomerang has like bands on his arms underneath his shirt sleeve that he rolls up, and it's got a bunch of boomerangs like inside of them. So they all found ways to bring in weapons. Like, but at no point did they actually go through metal detectors. So I don't know why they were having to do this whole charade. And I'm assuming
like a just in case,
I guess, but I also kind of assume that Boomerang and Plastique probably also have some sort of metal in their stuff. So I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
We don't know what also they have bombs in them.
The bombs.
Like, I feel like that is the biggest weapon there is their bombs in their heads.
I mean, if they really want to be super secure, what they do is they just have Superman just stand there, and every single person that comes aboard just gives them a quick little X-ray scans, like, you're good, you're good.
Do you think they have to take their shoes off?
Yes, they do.
Of course they do.
It's post 9/11, of course they're taking their shoes off.
I think the joke is that like it is a post 9/11. Like we all know the woes of dealing with the metal detectors.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, so like they're sneaking way through, and then so they get that big fight sequence, which is, I mean, it goes on for quite a while, and it's fun to see those three League members kind of get a moment. 'Cause I remember we did like a little recap on Vigilante and Shiny Knight and like their last appearance, and I think we even said like I don't think they ever show up again, and they got a whole little scene here.
Yeah, well, I guess someone sent it. I think Sam sent in a note. You know, we get a whole moment with Shining Knight later.
We're never accurate in what we say. We just say things and don't bother to back it up with like research or confidence.
That's what y'all are for.
Exactly.
The listeners.
You can write in and let us know, and I see the message almost a month later.
Yeah.
But I mean, did you enjoy like that little battle of the?
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
Like we never see Atom Smasher.
No.
And so him like thinking he can go, and also I feel like they're all overhyped because they mention Atom Smasher as like the bruiser of the league.
Yeah.
And then he goes down with a punch.
Yeah. Right. It is kind of interesting because when they're running through the mission, like, oh, the tower will be mostly empty, which it's far from, and they say that the 3 people you have to worry about are Captain Atom, who is really kind of in the background of all of this, like barely even shows up at any point.
Well, he's the one that kind of notices that it's sabotage.
Oh, that's true. Because
he goes down to absorb the nuclear energy.
Green Lantern, who again, like after the bombs go off, he's just on evacuation duty. But there is that really fun moment when Plastique and Deadshot are in the elevator, and he's like, hold the elevator, and gets on, and it's just this like moment of awkward silence, and it's kind of fun because up to that point Deadshot has been so arrogant and like so heavily flirting with Plastique, like this whole chemistry going between the two of them, and they're just like stopped and just shocked for a moment, and you think it's gonna be completely silent until Deadshot, being the fucking prick that he is, has to just turn the screw. It's like, oh hey, like GL, my wife's been asking for Hawk Girl's autograph. Do you know where she is?
What? He's such a dick.
He's such a dick. Like, again, they do such a good job this episode of completely flipping the POV. So when it's away from the League and towards Task Force X, like that moment's intense because we know Green Lantern's like an antagonist to the story we're following, which is fucking brilliant. And the fact that like we are just like in suspense, like, oh my God, are they going to get caught in this moment by him? It's so clever.
Also, he makes a construct.
That's true.
He makes a hand to hold the door open.
Like a little hand. But then the last leaguer that they're warned about is Jean, which this is interesting too. It's the only time in the entire DCAU that someone refers to him as the Martian Manhunter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because he even says like Jean Jones, aka the Martian Manhunter, whose powers are like super strong, flight. He can phase through things. He can read your mind. He's a shapeshifter. And like they set him up like, oh, he's like the real threat at the end of the day. And sure as shit, like when they're trying to escape, they've gotten through Atom Smasher, they've gotten through everyone else. The only person left to stop them, because most of the tower evacuated, is Jean. And it's like him in full on badass mode, taking full use of his powers. Like phasing through stuff, shape shifting. He even gets torn in half at one point by the Annihilator and like thrown to either side, and that only takes him a moment to just like rebuild himself because he's a fucking shapeshifter, so that's not going to kill him.
Yeah, but that's still gruesome.
It is.
And added to the list of non-humanoid deaths. I mean, he didn't die.
He didn't die, but brutal things can happen as long as you're not human. But it's cool to see him set up as like the most, really in some ways, one of the most powerful leaguers, and actually see that play out in reality, and that he is a real threat. He's the boss level. Over the course of this whole thing, he's the final boss, and the only thing that stops him ultimately is Plastique threatening to put a bomb inside Atom Smasher's giant skull, giant mouth. And then even then, the only way Task Force X gets out of there is because Deadshot shoots the plastic explosive to cause a distraction. They leave Plastique behind. We don't even know whether she died or not. We just see that she's like really gravely injured. She's not dead yet, but she could end up dying. We don't know.
Yeah, I feel like they allude to her dying.
Yeah.
Because, like, Captain Atom is not happy when he sees her body.
No. I mean, it's a really effective moment. I mean, because there's been this flirtation between the two of them all the way along, between Deadshot and Plastique, and he's the one that basically kills her. Yeah. Whether she dies or not, like, that's basically his intent. It's like, well, we got to get out of here, so I don't give a shit. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, he put the mission first.
He did. And himself.
Like the true American he is.
Exactly. But yeah, so they're ultimately able to get away with the Annihilator, and they sabotage the Zeta beam so they can't be followed. But I mean, the button on all of this, though, at the very end, well, there's, I guess, two buttons. One is Deadshot's like, all right, peace out. This has been great. Rick Flag's like, oh, fuck no. We've got you for 5 years. Like, you're signed on now. We never see them again because they just didn't do anything else with Task Force X, really. But, like, that's the one. And the second button is GL realizing, like, oh, we can't trust anyone now on this Watchtower, which we have for some reason decided to staff with just a bunch of random people.
Yeah. So like you have so many heroes that can, no one wants to do the chores, but you can make them do some chores.
Yeah.
You don't need a full battalion of paid like humans on board.
Well, because it does raise kind of an interesting question, which is, why were there not support staff on the original Watchtower? Like, I mean, I get this is a bigger tower, and this just shows this, like, the scale of it, that we now have just, like, staff working there. But, like, a lot of the things the staff would be needed for here, we would have needed someone in the past. Like, what? Like, maintaining the facility in terms of, like, the nuclear reactor, and, like, just keeping a fucking space station in orbit, and probably helping to, like, clean up the place a little bit. Who was doing that before?
Probably the Flash.
Alfred. I just realized.
Oh, yeah, Alfred.
But it was before everyone knew who he was, so it was just Alfred in disguise, or Batman would have to wait until he had monitor duty and everyone was gone. It's like, okay, Alfred, come up. We need you to go, like, scrub the toilets.
I like to imagine Bruce made Alfred wear the bat suit while he cleaned. And so everyone looked and like, oh, it's just Batman. But so he could never face them. So just the back of Batman. Yeah. It's like the costume's a little saggier than usual.
It's an ill-fitting bat suit and he's brooming, sweeping up the place.
And then they'll like go into the lookout space.
Yeah.
And they see Bruce again. It's like, I couldn't have.
Yeah. Did Bruce make us tea? And these lovely little cucumber sandwiches?
Bruce, your baking skills are impeccable.
Yeah, you make a hell of a souffle. Would not have expected that from you. But then again, you're Batman. You can do everything.
But I think, as we've mentioned before, the biggest difference between old Watchtower and new Watchtower, they need someone to clean those hallway showers.
That's that. Whoa, yeah. Stuff's happening in those hallway showers.
Yeah. Especially between Black Canary and Green Arrow. It's getting freaky now.
It's mostly just the two of them.
Yeah.
They've had written warnings. But I mean, look, overall, I think this episode is super fun. It's so different than anything else we've gotten before. It's like this cool little, like, one-off little mini genre piece. The, like, I guess in the long run doesn't have, like, super big stakes for the DCAU, but it's just really, really fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you kind of offhand mentioned this. This would be an amazing video game.
It would be. Well, hey, we're getting a Suicide Squad video game.
Yeah,
So
there's something about, because like we're so conditioned to the Suicide Squad we have right now, where like the pillars are Rick Flag and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And so not having Harley in this brings a serious tone that we don't really ever get to see, while still being like lighthearted, because, Captain Boomerang doesn't take it seriously, Deadshot doesn't take it seriously, Plastique doesn't take it seriously. Yeah. But it's still like, it's so different from any other Suicide Squad we see.
Well, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think this might have been either right before or right around the time that Harley became part of the Suicide Squad. Because it's had a lot of iterations over the years. I feel like it wasn't until around this time that Harley joined it.
Okay, this would have been around like February 23rd, 2005.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's now like a significant member, but I think that, it's going to be too hard for me to look it up in this moment, but I think it would have been right around that time that now we always know her as being like, like the Suicide Squad is basically a vehicle for Harley stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was quite there yet on this, but you're right. It does feel odd to not have her be a part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to call it refreshing, but it's so different.
It is.
I don't even
different.
think of it as the Suicide Squad.
Well, I mean, especially because, they don't even call it that.
Yeah.
It's just Task Force X. It feels like its own specific version within this universe.
Yeah, like a side branch of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah. But hey, there's still like Captain Boomerang in there.
Yeah.
God, I love Captain Boomerang.
He's great. It's unique seeing Rick Flag be like, because everyone kind of makes fun of Rick Flag in the 2 live action movies. Mm-hmm. But in this episode, he is the authoritative figure.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are kind of scared of him for no reason. Like, they don't ever show, besides that he can punch hard, they don't really show.
Well, and he can blow up their brains.
That too. That is also a good motivator.
It's a good threat.
You're doing a good job with it.
I know you're being very good today, Cameron. I appreciate
you're
it.
just constantly holding that trigger.
Any other thoughts on this?
There's a story I was listening to the day before watching this episode. It is known as the greatest heist of the century.
Okay.
Which is it was on a podcast. They were making fun of it because this was in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very early calling it the greatest heist of the century. But it truly is. It was in Argentina, and it was this incredible bank robbery where it was kind of two guys that had never robbed anything before, like saw the flaws in in this huge bank of what's the biggest city in Argentina? What's their capital? Buenos Aires.
Okay, yeah.
In Buenos Aires. And I go look it up. It is an incredible feat of like technical skill.
Oh, interesting.
What they did to rob this bank most of them never got caught.
Huh.
And they're just now out of the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
All right. And so now they're all like profiting off of their story.
God.
And they made a movie about this robbery, and they've all come out and talked about the movie and how they think it's so funny that in the movie they had to dramatize so much of it because they were so good in this robbery that like it wouldn't have made an interesting story because everything went they were so good. They basically dug a hole under the bank. It was kind of their scheme through the sewer system. And they were so clean. They made it home, got pizza, and watched the police still surrounding the bank as they thought they were still like holding hostages inside.
Oh my God.
Like that's how clean they were, like 3 hours ahead of the police.
No, I remember. I've actually seen that adaptation. I remember because they stole a vault and put it behind 2 Chargers and drove it to the city.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, like please go look up the story because it's basically a guy that just liked to tinker with things.
That's awesome.
Just like, yeah, we could do this. We do this very easily.
All right.
So one very last quick note on this. The end button from the League side is Martian Manhunter being very agitated that they kind of got away with this while he was on duty. And he wants to basically mind wipe
that's right.
the mole,
yeah.
which is, again, very Dark Justice Lord mentality.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the League we know. Like, and GL has to kind of talk him down. Like, we can't cross that line.
Yeah. It's fucked.
Yeah. And then opening it up to, the bigger, like, we can't just trust him. We can't trust anybody now.
Yeah. I forgot about that, but you're right. That's like the one little thing because this is all loosely part of the larger Cadmus stuff, kind of. But you're right. Like that moment though is very much thematically tied into what's happening here, which is like we're seeing the League kind of become more and more extreme, and like we're like, ooh, wow, maybe tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, and it's also the first time I can remember we see John like show emotion, not even just get angry, but show any kind of emotion.
Yeah, he's really, really angry that they did this.
Yeah.
Can he be trusted?
Probably,
I think.
Yeah, I think
he's
pretty good.
Yeah, I think we must know again. Yeah. All right, should we move on to some plugs here?
Let's do some plugs.
All right, what do you got for us this week, Cameron?
So I've been reading a book. I feel like I've done a lot of book plugs.
I know.
Recent. And this is my first like big book.
Whatever credit you would earn by reading a book, you just lost by calling it a big boy book. But by all means, please continue.
It's called Everybody Poops.
It's a good book.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
And it's called The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson.
Okay.
It's the first book of the Stormlight Archives, and it's a very, very renowned fantasy series.
Okay.
He's a very well-established fantasy author right now, like very into like high fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
He's most known for his like magic power systems, and there's this whole article that I read a couple of years ago about like soft magic versus hard magic, and kind of like establishing the rules of magic. Yeah, I think I plugged it years ago. Yeah. But he's kind of the one that like really brought this to the forefront of conversation. Mm-hmm. But The Way of Kings is the first in like a 6-part series. I call it a big boy book because it's the first book over 1,000 pages that I'm reading, and it's daunting. Yeah. I'm like 350 pages in right now. Mm-hmm. It's a great read. Like it's pretty smooth. I still don't fully know what's going on yet, but it's kind of a character piece for now. Like I still don't know the end goal of any of them. Like there's no mission they're out on yet. But it basically follows three people. Kaladin, who was a soldier turned slave. What's his name? Dalinar, who's like a high prince in this war. And then his niece, who is like an aspiring student of magic and science.
Okay.
And it's really beautiful so far. And I'm excited to see like what actually happens.
Oh, okay. So it's the first in a series?
Yes.
Okay.
4 books have been published. And I think there's 2 more coming eventually.
Okay.
But Sanderson is not a Tolkien. What's the
George R. R. Martin?
Martin, thank you.
Yeah.
I forgot which R's it was. He's not a Martin, where he's like constantly churning out content.
Okay. Because I feel like there's a handful of those series, like really well-regarded fantasy novel series that aren't over yet. I think it's the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss is another one. I have it on my shelf right over there. The Name of the Wind. So it's like, I know like people say like, oh, you got to read this. I'm like, well, but if not, all the books aren't out, I'm not doing it. And I think Patrick Rothfuss is kind of like a George R. R. Martin, where everyone's like, come on, guy. Where's the next book? So, okay, but Brad Sanderson actually finishes his world.
He's doing like a lot of books concurrently, which is incredible.
Yeah, I've heard his name before, so I feel like he's pretty prolific.
Yeah, he did the Mistborn series. I think was his first trilogy. The first book I bought of his, which I started reading. I want to go back to it because now I understand like how he writes.
Yeah.
But he has a superhero series, which is very similar to The Boys, called Steelheart.
Okay.
Where it's basically a in that world, superheroes are invincible. And a boy sees, as like a bank robbery is going down, he sees a hero come in and kill everyone, and his dad like shoots him, and it cuts the hero. So he's the only one that's seen this invincible Titan like show any kind of weakness.
Yeah.
And now it's 10 years later, his dad's been murdered by that hero, and he's like trying to get revenge.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. And I think that's also a 3-part series.
Okay.
But yeah, the 4th book came out a year ago or so, within the past year. So he's churning them out.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I might read that one then because I don't want to get invested in a series and then just never have an end.
And again, each book is 1,000 pages.
Oh.
Like, I have time.
That's a lot. I got a lot of reading to do.
That's a lot of content, man.
I only got so much time.
But I think that's my only plug for this week.
Okay. I have 2 this week.
Ooh.
One is I have a guest appearance on a podcast coming up here. So friend of ours / former guest of the show, CJ, he joined me on my friend Eric's podcast, Get Wrecked. Get Wrecked, it's super fun. It's basically Eric and his friend Coco, and it's a game show based podcast. Every week they do a different kind of game. They've done like versions on like Jeopardy and like blind dates and stuff like that. It's really funny. But Siege and I joined on to participate in a debate episode against 2 Gen Zs. So it was the millennials versus the Gen Zs, because Eric and Coco were trying to decide, because they're kind of on like that cusp, trying to decide which side they fall on. And so the debate was to try and see who was like the better generation. It's super fun.
I remember you pitching the idea to me, and I'm like, I want to do that so badly.
It was so much fun to record. You know me, I'm not very argumentative. I just really leaned into it. I was one of the few times I've ever like gone on full on like argumentative debate mode, and I had a blast doing it. And CJ is even way better at this than I was. So it's a really fun episode, and it drops the same day this podcast does, and I'll link it in the show notes. But it's really fun. Go check it.
Amazing. I'll definitely check it out.
Had a great time. And then the other plug I have also came from, in this case, CJ. He and I were hanging out, and he played for me some songs from Olivia Rodrigo's album Sour.
Have you not listened to the album yet?
I only listen to film scores and podcasts. This is well known for me. Like, this is maybe the most shocking.
It's the anthem of Gen Z.
It's like the most shocking.
They're already past this phase.
Plug I've ever had, probably, as I listened to like a very like youth focused pop culture album, and I love it.
It's great.
It is so good. Like, clearly she was working with a music producer who's like roughly our age, because the songs have a very early 2000s kind of poppy sound to them in some ways.
Well, do you know I don't want to call it drama, but like the quote unquote drama around Good For You, kind of the most famous song off the album?
The whole album's a breakup album.
No, so this song specifically is a rip from Paramore's Misery Business. I think
that's why it sounds familiar.
Yes,
okay.
It's so similar now, in fact, that there was a near lawsuit that came out, I assume from the managers, because Haley Williams has come out and being like, no, I fully approve of this song. The song is amazing.
Yeah.
But Haley Williams now has a credit on the song because it's so similar to Paramore's.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it has very much that vibe. But like I mentioned, it's also just like a perfect breakup album in a very like emotionally poignant and devastating kind of way. So if you're going through that, listen to it.
I was in such a phase. I can't believe we never talked about that. I mean, I'm sure I talked at you about it.
I'm pretty sure you have mentioned this before, and I ignored it because I was like, I don't give a shit about pop culture music.
Yeah, it's the first. I don't want to say it's the first album, but it's the biggest album in like the post Taylor Swift world, where this is a girl who grew up listening to Taylor's breakup songs, and formed a full music career from that inspiration.
Yeah,
almost it was to the point where on TikTok, there's a guy, I need to find the playlist again. There's a guy who made an album called Sweet and Sour, where it's songs that mirror from like Taylor's perspective of a breakup to Olivia's perspective of a breakup. And it's just back and forth the whole album.
Oh my God.
And it's beautiful. It is a beautiful playlist.
Like, it's every one of the songs, like, it's a total banger. And at the same time, you're just like listening to it like, this is devastating. And it rings too true and it makes you sad. But it's also really good.
It's so good. I'm very happy for you. I'm glad you found it.
I've been listening to it a lot this week, and the less said about the emotional state I'm in as a result, the better.
Fair.
But it's a great album, and I can't believe I'm plugging it, but I'm absolutely 100% plugging it.
No, I'm so glad you're plugging it. I don't want to I can't shame you for it, because you found it, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Is you've embraced Olivia Rodrigo as the rest of us have.
Yes, you can thank CJ, who I've given up trying to argue with him when he says you should just do this thing or listen to this thing. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm tired of him being right and me end up being wrong, so I just now say yes, okay, fine. So, but go check it out. But yeah, I think that does it for us this week. So we'll be back next week with 2 more Justly Limited episodes. In this case, it'll be The Balance and the highly anticipated Double Date.
Yes.
Cannot wait for those. But until then, you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail.
Yes.
You can find me at Lordifer on Instagram.
If you want to see my art, you can find that at Cameron.Dexter. If you want to see my face, you can find that at CamDexter_adventures.
Whee!
Yay!
Cameron, you have made it through the entire episode without breaking any of my rules. You get to live.
You know what? It feels a little overrated. Just give me that trigger real quick.
Okay, all right. But I'm going to make you go through the final theme song, and then I'm going to kill you.
Okay, that's fine.
Wait, shit. Which was in this one? It's ba 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 ba
ba ba ba ba na 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 ba 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 na 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 na. Beautiful.